Welcome back to session 3 for today, and this session is on the legalization or the decriminalization of illicit drug use. Okay, I'll get into the police and the philosophy as far as what government's role should be in just a minute, but I want to cite the only real country that we have statistical access to that has gone down this path of complete decriminalization of all illicit drugs. Portugal. I've got some statistics for you here. By the way, I suggest that you go to fee.org. That's the Foundation for Economic I'm not sure. Economic Education, the Foundation for Economic Education, fee.org. I apologize. And type in just Google this organization and the legalization or decriminalization of drugs, Portugal, war on drugs, what have you. You'll arrive at this article by Eric Boehm, I believe. Okay. Portugal in the 1980s had a heroin epidemic, much like what we see in the opioid epidemic that we see here in the United States currently. And during the 1980s, 1 in 10 Portuguese were using heroin. Okay, 1 out of 100 had what they classified as serious addictions. The HIV rate became the highest in the European Union. In 2000, at the year 2000, there were 104.2 cases per million of HIV. By 2015, after the decriminalization of all illicit drugs, the HIV rate was down to 4.2 per million. Oh my goodness, 100 times reduction. You have to look at these numbers. I understand being skeptical of just legalized drugs. I'm not promoting drug use. It's not good. And that's not the issue here. I'm making the case, trying to make the case that government shouldn't be in the business of what adults, monitoring what adults do to their own bodies, but B, that even when it doesn't seem like the case, certain statistics present themselves after certain public policies are implemented that you can't ignore, no matter what you think about the issue at hand, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Okay? One of the major things that Portugal cites is that instead of jailing these people, these users, they looked at them as patients that needed help, and they're humans that need help. We all need help in some regard. And what happened, instead of jailing these people became more treatable. They had greater access to a variety of community-based programs, community groups like AA. In a lot of cases, they were nonprofit and voluntary. They were not simply government-run programs. Okay, and you can look all into that all you want. Fee.org does a really great job of citing those studies and some of the comments from public officials in Portugal about this phenomenon. Okay. Moving into the philosophical approach, I want to make this point because I'm so strongly against this socialistic redistributionism that's become now elected and widespread in the United States to our future detriment for another topic. But I do believe that we can make a really reasonable, logical case that heavy-handed redistributionism is part of what leads to the increase in drug use, specifically in hard drug use. Okay? If humans know that they're going to receive financial assistance on a regular basis for things that they don't, that we go above and beyond things that that humans need and cross away. If the family below the federal poverty line has 2 cars and a flat screen TV, we've gone above and beyond life's necessities into luxury items. And this practice, heavy-handed, will absolutely give people that are users the mindset that somebody will be there for them next month with more money to continue their habits, and that they won't need to set aside monies for other more important things in life. And anyways, that's my side note about the redistributionism in terms of increased drug use. But I have a radical theory on how we should use police in this, and I know I'm going to get vehement disagreement from right-leaning people, and that's fine. But there is an argument to be made on the left side of this argument that we overuse police. We do, but it's not because of some kind of a misplaced ideology that policemen have. It's because we have too many dang laws, okay? Laws have to be enforced by police. We have too many, thus we have too many police. We ask the police to do too many things, okay? Point blank, we ask them to do too many things. Perhaps we ask so much of it in terms of the number of legalities that we have, written laws, that we have too many of them, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But we do need a police force. We do need to protect people from physical harm, things like that. Which leads me to this. It is my view that the government's only moral responsibility to civilization is to protect people's property, okay? For them to be able to do with their property what they see fit, as long as it doesn't infringe on other people's property, okay? We usually talk about property in certain circles in a negative light, because it should be a discussion about what you can't do to other people as opposed to what you can do to yourself, right? So the first property that any human ever owns is your own body. You own your property. You own it and control it, okay? For an adult, you should not be subject to the government's preferences in a legal manner as far as what you put in, what you consume with your own property, okay? That is my view. So what I would suggest that finds a balance between left and right in terms of how much we pay policemen and what we ask them to do. I believe that we can have a much safer approach to drugs in this country and drug-related outcomes, because I do think that there's a lot of gang-related violence in this field related purely to drugs and the sale and distribution of drugs. So my suggestion for this would be to use a tandem of police. I think that they usually travel in tandems for safety where it's possible, where funding is more prevalent, things like that. In tandems, I would have the police be the couriers for the drug orders. And I know that sounds radical, but what that does is it takes away the desire to have society pay for punitive instances where humans are consuming things that you may or may not approve of. So it takes away some of the funding necessities, the requirements to give more and more money to police departments, because we're asking them not to police and jail certain categories of people that number in the tens of millions, by the way. Okay, so it's a money saver there. It's also a property saver, and it's morally upright in this sense. If my local police officers bring a bag of heroin or whatever and a clean syringe to a potential user, when they deliver it, they can check that property to make sure that there aren't minors or unwilling participants. So you can actually have a situation where I'm not asking them to search and seize in terms of looking through the house, but you can check the premises and make sure that people that don't want to participate are not there or can be removed from that situation. Okay, so you can protect other people by going down this path, at the same time that you save money and ask police as an entity, a government entity, to do less, which is absolutely a complaint that leftism offers on a regular basis in relation to a wide plethora of human activity. Okay, so I realize that this one is pretty far out there, but I hope that people can kind of take this idea and look at other ways to limit the number of police interactions with society, to limit the number of laws that we apply that do cost money, time, and effort to enforce, and perhaps come up with a better approach at dealing with drugs in general, regardless of what that drug is, and in terms of what situations we want to ask the government to intervene in terms of what adults do to their own bodies. I hope that this has been thought-provoking, even if controversial, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. That's the end of session 3.